story began on Earth in 1980, in the beautiful hills of Mussoorie. There, Meredith was spending a happy and peaceful day with Ego. Ego was not from Earth at all. He was a being from another planet. Deep in the forest of Mussoorie, he had planted a strange alien plant. He told Meredith that one day this plant would spread everywhere. Hearing that made Meredith smile, and she felt excited about the future. Then the story jumped ahead 34 years. By now, the team known as the Guardians of the Galaxy had become famous across the galaxy, and people everywhere saw them as heroes. Because of that, the ruler of the sovereign planet, Ayesha, hired them to protect her valuable Analax batteries, which were worth billions. The whole team waited for danger to arrive, but suddenly a terrifying tentacled monster called the Abelisk attacked. It came to drain the battery's energy, forcing the Guardians into battle right away. While the others fought for their lives, little Groot, who had been reborn as a child, was happily dancing nearby like nothing was wrong. Drax kept trying to pierce the monster's thick skin, but it was too tough. Since he couldn't break through, he jumped straight inside the creature. Gamora tried to stop him, but Drax never listened. Peter looked at Gamora and said Drax had gone completely insane, and if they wanted to save him, they needed to kill the monster fast. Peter and Rocket worked together to distract the creature upward, while Gamora noticed a wound on its throat. Seeing her chance, she used her sword and sliced the monster wide open, killing it instantly. A moment later, Drax crawled out of the dead creature, convinced that he was the one who killed it. He proudly celebrated, but little Groot quickly pointed out the truth. After that, the team went to meet Ayesha. She explained that she hired them because her people were too valuable to risk in battle. Every citizen of the Sovereign was specially created in laboratories using perfect DNA, so she refused to let any of them die protecting batteries. As payment, Ayesha handed over Nebula, who had been captured while trying to steal the batteries. Ayesha then asked Gamora if it was true that Nebula was her sister. Gamora coldly replied that it meant nothing, and since Xandar had placed a bounty on Nebula, they would simply turn her in. With that, she took Nebula away. Ayesha then looked at Peter with curiosity. There was something unusual about him that caught her attention. She asked where he came from. Peter told her that his mother was from Earth, but he never knew where his father came from. Soon after, the team prepared to leave. Rocket secretly told Drax that they were about to get rich because he had stolen some of the Analax batteries himself. Drax loved hearing that. The Guardians then took off in their ship and headed towards Xandar. But soon, Ayesha discovered that Rocket had stolen her batteries. Furious, she immediately launched a fleet of remote-controlled Omnicraft ships after them. When Peter saw the Sovereign ships closing in behind them, he had no idea what was happening. Then Drax casually revealed that Rocket had stolen the batteries. Peter instantly got angry, but Rocket brushed it off, saying those golden people thought they were smarter than everyone else. Now the Sovereign fleet opened fire. Ayesha had given orders to kill them all. Peter and Rocket did everything they could to dodge the attacks, but there were too many enemy ships. With no other option, they steered toward a nearby planet called Burhurt, hoping to survive. But to reach it, they had to fly through a deadly field of asteroids. They pushed forward, narrowly avoiding both enemy fire and crashing meteors. But after taking several hits, their ship was badly damaged. Peter activated the shield just in time. Even then, one Sovereign ship was still chasing them. Drax put on a spacesuit, stepped outside, and destroyed it himself. But before they could celebrate, even more Sovereign ships arrived and surrounded them. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, a mysterious man suddenly appeared in another ship. In a single strike, he wiped out the entire Sovereign fleet. Rocket was stunned and couldn't understand who this stranger was or why he had saved them. Peter didn't waste time thinking about it and focused on landing their damaged ship on Burhurt. But the ship was too badly broken, and it crashed hard into the jungle. Gamora was furious at Peter and Rocket, blaming their constant arguing for the crash. She told them that if they had stopped fighting, the ship could have landed safely. Peter and Rocket immediately started arguing again. Then the mysterious stranger landed nearby and stepped out with a woman named Mantis. The man introduced himself as Ego. Peter looked at him in confusion and asked who he was. Ego calmly looked at Peter and said he was his father. Peter was completely shocked. Meanwhile, on the planet Contraxia, we saw Yondu Odonta. Soon, Stakar Ogord arrived to confront him. Stakar was one of the respected captains of the Ravagers, and long ago he had freed Yondu from slavery and made him captain of his own crew. But now, he was angry. Yondu asked why Stakar was treating him this way. Stakar coldly replied that Yondu had broken the Ravager code. Ravagers might be thieves, but they never kidnapped children. Yet Yondu had done exactly that for money. Yondu tried to defend himself, saying it had been a mistake and that he was still one of them. He even reminded Stakar that he wore the Ravager uniform like everyone else, but Stakar showed no sympathy. He told Yondu that wearing the uniform meant nothing now. When Yondu died, no one would celebrate his freedom, and the colors of Ogord's honor would never rise over his grave. Those words deeply hurt Yondu, and he quietly looked away in pain. Just then, Ayesha arrived to meet him. She offered Yondu a deal. capture Peter Quill and the Guardians, and bring them to her. At the same time, Ego explained the truth to Peter. He said he had once sent Yondu to bring Peter to him, but Yondu kept the boy for himself instead. Now Ego invited Peter to come with him to his home planet. Peter, Gamora, and Drax agreed to go with him. Meanwhile, Rocket stayed behind on Berhurt with little Groot to repair their damaged ship, and Nebula was kept there as a prisoner. Inside Ego's ship, Mantis used her powers to put Ego to sleep. After that, Peter and Drax started talking to her. They noticed her strange antennae and jokingly asked if they were some kind of signal towers that caught transmissions. Mantis smiled and explained that her antennae allowed her to sense emotions. By touching someone, she could feel what was hidden inside them. Then she touched Peter and instantly realized that he had feelings for Gamora. Drax burst out laughing and mocked him without mercy. Mantis then explained that she could also change emotions. She could make someone happy, sad, calm, or frightened. She added that if her master ever couldn't sleep, she could put him to sleep instantly. Hearing that, Drax casually said he wanted to sleep too. Mantis touched him with her powers, and he dropped asleep immediately. Back on Berhurt, Yondu's crew finally reached the Guardians' crashed ship, but Rocket had expected them to come. He had already set traps all around the area, and many Ravagers were blasted away the moment they stepped in. Still, Yondu eventually got close enough and aimed his deadly Yaka arrow straight at Rocket. Realizing he had no move left, Rocket surrendered. Yondu told Rocket that Ayesha had hired him to deliver the Guardians alive, but he had no intention of doing that. Instead, he planned to sell the stolen Analax batteries himself and make a fortune. However, one Ravager named Taserface strongly disagreed. Yondu snapped back, saying they weren't fools. If they killed the Guardians, the entire Nova Corps would come after them. Even Kraglin wasn't happy, because Yondu always seemed to spare Peter no matter what happened. That frustration finally exploded into mutiny. Taserface turned the crew against Yondu, and the Ravagers began fighting among themselves. At the same time, Nebula saw her chance. She told Groot that his friend was in danger. Innocent little Groot believed her and freed her restraints, but Nebula immediately betrayed him. She attacked Yondu, smashed the device that controlled his Yaka arrow, and shocked Rocket unconscious. Meanwhile, Peter and the others finally arrived on Ego's planet. It was breathtaking, lush, beautiful, and almost too perfect to be real. Peter and Gamora were amazed when they learned that Ego had created the entire world himself. Gamora asked him what he truly was, because no ordinary being could own a planet like this. Ego calmly replied that she could call him a celestial being and that he was no less than a god. Then he led them into his magnificent palace and revealed his history. He said he belonged to one of the oldest races in the universe. In the beginning, he existed only as a living brain, floating alone through space. Over time, he became aware of his loneliness, so he learned to control the atoms around him, shaping matter with his will. As his power grew, he built this entire planet, but even that didn't bring him peace. So he searched for life beyond himself. Using the basic forces of existence, he created life and shaped worlds. In his own words, he had become a god unto himself. Then Ego turned to Peter and spoke about Meredith. He said that when he met Peter's mother, he truly fell in love with her. A few months later, Peter was born. Ego claimed he searched everywhere for his son, but never found him. Then one day, he heard that a human from Earth had touched an Infinity Stone and survived. That was when he knew Peter Quill had to be his son. Meanwhile, back on Yondu's ship, chaos had completely taken over. Because of Nebula's actions, Yondu's crew had turned against him. Taserface had declared himself the new leader, and Yondu, Rocket, and Groot were now prisoners. To prove his power, Taserface brutally executed every Ravager who had stayed loyal to Yondu by throwing them out into space. Rocket couldn't stop laughing at the name Taserface, which only made Taserface furious. Enraged, he locked both Rocket and Yondu Udonta inside a prison cell, planning to hand them over to Ayesha later. Now Nebula demanded the 10% cut she had been promised. Kraglin told her that once Ayesha paid them for the Guardians, she would get her share. Then he asked what she planned to do with all that money. Nebula coldly replied that she would build a powerful ship and use it to kill her father, Thanos. She revealed how he used to force her and Gamora to fight each other. Every time Gamora won, Thanos punished Nebula by replacing parts of her body with machines. Piece by piece, he turned her into what she was now. Nebula swore she would make him suffer the same way he made her suffer. But first, she was going to kill Gamora. With that, Nebula took a ship and headed toward Ego's planet. Meanwhile, Taserface's men were treating little Groot terribly. Groot was angry but too small to fight back. Later that night, after the crew had gone to sleep, Groot quietly passed by the prison cell. Yondu and Rocket quickly stopped him. Yondu told Groot to bring the control fin from his head so he could use his Yaka arrow and escape, but innocent little Groot didn't understand what they meant. He kept returning with random objects instead of the fin, each one more ridiculous than the last. Then Kraglin spotted Rocket and secretly chose to help them. He brought Yondu the control fin and admitted that he never wanted the mutiny to happen. Taserface had murdered all of his friends. Yondu looked at him and ordered him to release the third section of the ship. The moment they were free, Yondu and Rocket became a deadly team. One by one, they tore through Taserface's men. Yondu unleashed his Yaka arrow, sending it flying through the ship and slaughtering enemies everywhere. Rocket and Groot joined the fight, destroying entire sections of the vessel. Together, they turned the ship into chaos. Then they escaped through the third section Kraglin had opened for them. Taserface was killed in the destruction, but before dying, he managed to send Yondu and Rocket's location to one of Ayesha's soldiers. Now Rocket set a course for Ego's planet. Meanwhile, Peter confronted Ego. He told him that his mother had suffered from a brain tumor, and yet Ego had left her there to die. Peter angrily asked why he had sent a space pirate to take him instead of coming himself. Ego calmly explained that he never wanted to leave Meredith, but the divine light at the core of his planet was fading, and he had no choice but to return. Now that Peter was finally there, Ego said he had much to teach him, because that same celestial power existed inside Peter too. Then Ego began teaching Peter how to control the energy. Peter focused, and soon created a glowing ball of light. Father and son tossed it back and forth like a game, laughing together. For the first time in a long time, Peter felt happy. He finally believed he had found where he belonged. Elsewhere, Drax was talking with Mantis. He asked how she ended up on such a strange planet. Mantis explained that she had been growing alone on her own world when Ego found her and brought her here. Hearing that reminded Drax of his daughter, and sadness filled his heart. Mantis gently touched him and instantly felt the pain he carried inside. At the same time, Peter and Gamora were growing closer to each other. They shared a quiet dance together, but Gamora couldn't shake the strange feeling this place gave her. She told Peter that Mantis was hiding something, and she believed this perfect world was an illusion, but Peter refused to listen. So Gamora stepped outside to contact Rocket, but before she could, Nebula suddenly attacked her. Gamora ran into a cave, and Nebula chased after her. During the fight, Gamora grabbed a gun from Nebula's damaged ship and fired at her, trapping Nebula inside the wreckage. She could have left her there to die, but Gamora couldn't do it. Instead, she pulled Nebula out and saved her life. The moment she was free, Nebula attacked again, but this time she stopped before killing her. Through anger and pain, Nebula finally confessed the truth. She said all she ever wanted was a sister, but Gamora had only cared about winning. Those words hit hard. Gamora finally realized how much pain Nebula had carried for all these years. Then, as the two sisters moved deeper into the planet, they discovered something horrifying. Hidden inside the core of the world were countless skeletons, and both of them were left stunned. Meanwhile, Ego continued revealing the truth to Peter. He told him that everyone born in the universe eventually died, but beings like them were different. They were celestial gods, and they could live forever. Then Ego finally shared his true master plan. He said that long ago he searched the universe looking for life, but once he found it, he became disappointed. That was when he realized something far greater. This entire universe needed to be remade in his image. According to Ego, true progress meant expanding himself across all existence. He explained that for millions of years, he had planted parts of himself on countless planets, like seeds growing beneath the surface. One day, those seeds would awaken and spread, transforming every world into an extension of Ego. Then he would rule in every direction. But there had always been one problem. A single Celestial could not complete this process alone. It required the power of two. That was why Ego had traveled from planet to planet, spreading his DNA and fathering children everywhere. He hoped one of them would inherit celestial power. One by one, he had Yondu bring those children back to him, but none of them possessed the power he needed. So, he killed them all. In that horrifying moment, Peter realized the skeletons Gamora and Nebula had found were the remains of Ego's own children. Ego then smiled and said that when he finally learned about Peter, he was overjoyed. Out of all his children, Peter was the only one who carried the divine power. And then Ego revealed something even darker. To get Peter back, he had placed the tumor in Meredith's brain. The moment Peter heard that, rage exploded inside him. He broke free from Ego's influence and instantly pulled out his blasters, firing at him again and again. But Ego couldn't be killed so easily. As a Celestial, he simply rebuilt himself and returned to normal. Then he overpowered Peter and trapped him, planning to use Peter like a living battery to power the expansion forever. Meanwhile, Mantis confessed everything to Gamora and the others. Mantis had a kind heart, and she couldn't stand by while Peter was hurt. At that same moment, Rocket Raccoon and Yondu Udonta arrived on the planet. Yondu already knew the truth about Ego. That was the real reason he had never delivered Peter to him. Now that Ego had Peter under control, the seeds he had planted across the universe began activating. All over space, planets started tearing apart as the expansion began. But Yondu crashed his ship straight into Ego, interrupting the process. Peter snapped back to normal. Gamora and the others rushed in, grabbed Peter, and pulled him onto the ship. Mantis warned them that Ego was not dead. The form they had attacked was only a physical shell. To truly kill him, they had to destroy the core buried deep inside the planet. Peter rushed into the ship's control room and was shocked to see Yondu there. Ego tried to stop them from escaping, but Peter and Yondu fought back together and blasted through the path ahead, diving deeper into the center of the planet. Rocket was excited, proudly saying they were about to save the universe for the second time. Soon they reached Ego's true core, a massive glowing brain-like energy source. It was the real divine light that powered everything. Rocket immediately began attacking it with a laser cannon, but suddenly, because of the message Taserface had sent before dying, the Sovereign Fleet arrived. Ayesha and her forces launched a full attack on Rocket and the others, ruining the laser plan. Thinking fast, Rocket came up with a new idea. He used the stolen Onalax batteries to build a bomb. Those batteries were so powerful that a single explosion could destroy Ego's core completely. Peter and Rocket carried the bomb toward the brain, but the tunnel leading to the roots was too narrow for them to enter. Then Peter had an idea. Only one person small enough could fit inside. Little Groot. Rocket quickly began explaining the mission to Groot. At the same time, Ego started waking up, but Mantis used her powers again and forced him back to sleep. Without fully understanding the danger, brave little Groot grabbed the Onalax bomb and headed into the narrow tunnel alone. Outside, the Sovereign Fleet completely surrounded Yondu's ship from every side, but Nebula managed to reactivate the ship's laser weapons and blasted the enemy ships out of the sky. Watching her fleet get destroyed made Ayesha furious. Now, for the first time, the entire Guardians of the Galaxy team stood together again. But then everything changed. Because Mantis lost consciousness, Ego suddenly woke up. Rocket quickly warned Peter that if Groot had placed the bomb correctly, they only had 6 minutes left to escape. Yondu immediately told Kraglin to bring the ship down fast. Now Peter and the whole team charged at Ego together, but Ego was far too powerful. During the chaos, Gamora nearly fell to her death, but Nebula grabbed her and saved her. Kraglin arrived with the ship just in time. Drax rushed Mantis toward safety, trying to get her on board, but he got trapped in Ego's living vines. One by one, Ego used his powers to bury the entire team beneath the ground. He even shattered Yondu's Yaka arrow. Then Ego restarted the expansion, and the destruction of the universe began again. Yondu looked at Peter and told him that he could control the celestial power too. He said he never guided his arrow with his mind. He guided it with his heart. Those words hit Peter deeply. Peter thought about the people he loved, his friends, his family, everyone who stood beside him, and by listening to his heart, he finally awakened his full celestial power. Now Peter rose up and attacked Ego head-on. At the same time, he freed all of his friends from the ground, allowing them to escape. Groot successfully planted the bomb inside Ego's brain and activated the timer before racing back out. Only 5 minutes remained. Drax carried Mantis onto the ship. Gamora and Nebula made it on board too. Rocket told Yondu Adanta to come with them, but Yondu refused. He said they needed to save Groot and leave. He would save Peter. Yondu quietly admitted that he wanted to do at least one truly good thing with his life. Hearing that deeply moved Rocket, and in that moment he accepted Yondu as part of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Yondu smiled. Meanwhile, Peter and Ego were still fighting as the final seconds counted down. Realizing the danger, Ego begged Peter to stop the bomb. He reminded Peter that they were immortal beings, and if the divine light was destroyed, Peter would become just an ordinary human. Peter looked back and said, there was nothing wrong with that. Then the bomb exploded. Ego's divine core was destroyed, and with it, Ego himself was finally wiped out forever. But now the entire planet began collapsing around them. Back on the ship, everyone believed Peter had died, and grief filled the room. But suddenly, Yondu flew through space carrying Peter in his arms. Using his flying suit, he had saved him. Then Yondu told Peter the truth. He said he never handed Peter over to Ego because he knew what happened to the other children. That was why he raised Peter as his own son. Yondu then placed the spacesuit on Peter, giving him the only protection left. Now exposed to space himself, Yondu slowly froze and died. But Peter lived. Peter was heartbroken. He begged Yondu not to do this, but there was nothing he could do. Later, Yondu was given a funeral among the stars. Peter and the others stood in silence, devastated by the loss. Peter finally understood that Yondu had given him something Ego never could, a father's love. Then Kraglin handed Peter the music player Yondu had brought for him, one that could hold over 300 songs. In return, Peter gave Kraglin Yondu's repaired Yaka arrow. Rocket also spread the word of Yondu's sacrifice to all the Ravager captains. Because of that, they came together to honor Yondu. Across space, ships lit the sky with beautiful colors and fireworks, giving him the tribute he truly deserved. At the same time, the pain between Gamora and Nebula was finally healed, but Nebula still had one mission left. She left to kill Thanos. In the post-credit scenes, Kraglin tried using Yondu's Yaka arrow for the first time, but failed miserably, accidentally shooting Drax instead. In another scene, Stalker Ogord reunited with his former teammates, including Aletta, Martin X, Charlie 27, Mainframe, and Kruger. Then we saw Aisha sitting beside a birthing pod. She revealed she was creating someone powerful enough to destroy the Guardians. His name was Adam. Finally, years later, Groot was shown growing back to his normal size, but now he had become a moody teenager who only wanted to play video games.